Somewhere over the empty quarter of Oman, a NASA satellite recorded something strange under the sand. Faint lines, dozens of them, all bending toward a single point in empty desert. Here's what the machines found. Here's why no one believes it's real. Those lines are not roads and they are not pipelines. Researchers believe they are caravan tracks worn into rock 2,000 years ago, so deep that centuries of blowing sand never erased them. Every track led toward one lost well, and that well may be the location of a city the Quran once said God buried, a city of towering pillars, a tribe so proud they believed nothing could touch them, and a punishment written straight into scripture so no one who came after would forget. This is the story of Ubar, the Atlantis of the sands. Welcome to Ruins and Myth, where we walk the cities the world left behind. In the Quran's Surah Al-Fajr, verses 6 through 8, a place called Iram is named Iram of the Lofty Pillars. It was home to a tribe called Ard, ruled by a king also called Ard, and it was destroyed for its own pride. Was Iram a city, a tribe, or an entire region? Even today, scholars genuinely disagree. The nickname Atlantis of the Sands likely started with a British explorer named Bertram Thomas in 1930. Bedouin guides told him of a wicked city swallowed by God, deep in the Rub el Khali, the empty quarter. People often credit T.E. Lawrence with the search. But Lawrence only dreamed of finding it, best reached, he joked, by airship. He never actually went. One man who did go looking was St. John Philby, hunting a city he called Ubar. Deep in the desert he found something remarkable. But it was not a city. It was a field of craters, blasted out by a meteorite thousands of years earlier. The lost city stayed lost. In 1946, explorer Wilfred the Siger passed a lonely well called Shisr in the Dhofar region of Oman. He saw a ruined stone fort there and wasn't impressed, just, in his words, the tumble-down ruin of an old fort, older than Islam itself. A 1948 oil survey team walked past the very same ruin. Neither one gave it a second thought. But one amateur historian could not let it go. Filmmaker Nicholas Clapp became fixated on that empty quarter legend. He recruited the explorer Ranulph Fiennes and archaeologist Yiris Zarins. Then he did something nobody chasing Ubar had tried before. He asked NASA for help. NASA turned its Landsat satellites and space shuttle radar on the empty quarter. That radar could see straight through the sand. And there they were, the same faint lines from our opening shot. Ancient caravan tracks, buried under centuries of dust, all converging on one point. At Shisr, the images did not reveal streets or houses. They revealed routes, evidence of movement ending at a well worth stopping for. Fiennes had one more clue. An old map drawn by the Greek geographer Ptolemy nearly 2,000 years earlier. On it, a trading post called Amanum Emporium sat almost exactly where those buried tracks converged. The ancient map and the modern satellite were pointing at the same spot, armed with the satellite images. And the ancient map, the team packed their tools and started digging at Shisr. By February 1992, the New York Times was running the headline, "A lost city, found, guided by ancient maps and sharp-eyed surveys from space." After centuries of failure, it looked like Ubar had finally been found. Under the crumbling fort the Siger once dismissed, they found something older, an octagonal fortress, its walls nearly 2,000 years old, buried beneath the surface. This was not the ruin a bored oil surveyor once walked past. This was a real ancient stronghold. However, proving a military presence at the well did not by itself establish the name people later attached to it. But under the main gate, the ground itself told a stranger story. A vast limestone table had given way, centuries earlier, swallowing part of the fortress into a sinkhole. A city quite literally swallowed by the earth. It was the exact image from the old legend, written in stone, not scripture. The collapse proved the myth was not just poetic interpretation. Geology supplied a physical event that mirrored the legend. If a satellite tracing 2,000-year-old caravan roads through solid sand doesn't amaze you a little, I don't know what will. Hit like, it helps this story find the next person who'd love it. So what actually stood here? Most likely, a fortified trading post, a stop on the frankincense route running from Dhofar's incense groves all the way to the Mediterranean. A real working desert town. Just maybe not a mythical one. A defended stop at a well makes practical sense for that trade, but that traffic does not by itself require a vanished capital. But the fort's real identity raised its own deeper problem. Geologist H. Stuart Edgell looked at that same desert and found that the empty quarter has been solid sand for around 6,000 years. Any legendary lost city, grand, thriving, ancient, could never have stood on shifting dunes that long. The timeline and the legend simply did not line up. Here's a question worth sitting with. If you were the archaeologist standing at that sinkhole, would you have announced found it or waited for the geology? Tell me what you'd have done down in the comments. There's a second problem. Medieval writers who mentioned Ubar never described a single city at all. They described a land, a whole region of southern Arabia, sometimes prosperous, sometimes cursed. Matching one small fort at Shisr to an entire region is, at best, a guess. That changes what the satellite evidence can prove. Converging tracks can identify an important stop in a trade network, but they cannot settle which later story belongs to which place. And here is the twist. Most retellings leave out. Nicholas Clapp, the very man who chased this story all the way to Nasser, later backed away from his own claim. Shisr might be part of the Ubar story, but most scholars today will not call it Ubar itself. So the truth turns out to be three things at once. A real caravan fort, mapped by real satellites. A real sinkhole, carved by real geology. And a real Bedouin legend about a city god buried in sand. Over centuries, all three braided together into one irresistible story. Maybe that braiding is the actual discovery. Not a lost city, but proof of how a legend can outlive the place that inspired it, reshaping a fort, a well, and a sinkhole into scripture made visible. Ubar was never really lost. We just kept looking for the wrong thing. If stories like this, the ones science finds and then quietly complicates, are your kind of thing, subscribe to Ruins and Myth. That's exactly what we dig up here every single week. NASA really did find something under that sand, just maybe not the city everyone hoped for. And somewhere under the Rube El Khali, the line between myth and geology is still buried, waiting for the next satellite to pass overhead.